Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And let's be honest, folks, we can't have a successful business if we're not managing our finances. But it tends to be one of the things that business owners think about last. It's going to solve its own problem. Oh, we don't want to talk about it. That's taboo. All these various things. And so we're going to have so much fun talking with Andrea Jenson today. Welcome, Andrea. How are you doing?
Hi, Deb. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on today.
Perfect. Well, it is very appropriate that we're speaking with you. It is Women's History Month, but I love talking to women all the time, but especially powerful women and women who, let's be honest, financial world isn't exactly one where we have a lot of women. So it's so much fun to be able to promote the intelligent, the knowledgeable, the wonderful women in this area. So let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into this. So Andrea Jenson is the founder of the Cash Flow CFO, the seven-figure entrepreneur's solution to scaling a profitable business. And she is the creator of the Predictable Profits Accelerator, which is a 5-step holistic approach to creating predictable business profits. The Cash Flow CFO team provides fractional CFO services, fully outsourced accounting teams, and financial training programs. So again, Andrea, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Great. Well, I always like knowing how my guests got to where they are today. And especially, as I said, because women don't typically go into the financial world, and they certainly don't launch their own businesses. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, I never considered myself a numbers or a financial person either.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing soccer in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on a scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
and I just was taking a wide variety of courses. And I happened to, have to take some prerequisites for my business degree, which were accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took my accounting classes and aced them.
Oh.
It was an easy A for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, all right, let's take some more, because I'll take these ones, as many as I can get.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kept taking, moving up the courses of accounting. And finally, one day, my professor pulled me aside and he said, this doesn't typically come easy to people. This is,
Right.
Actually a challenging, type of, business course that most people take when they're studying either entrepreneurship or business finance or international business. And so I kind of was like, well, I like it. I understand it. My brain works this way. So, there was kind of that initial spark of something was born there. And fast forward, graduated college, went to go work. My first role in corporate was working for a venture capital firm. And so there I got to see a lot of different types of industries, types of businesses, and I got to see the inner workings of what happened behind the scenes, working in venture capital. And so I think that's really where I was bit by the entrepreneurship bug. But I didn't realize it for many, many years. I kept climbing the corporate ladder and working for different types. I worked for a private equity company. I worked for, just a lot of different in the accounting field. And then life gave me a little twist and turn, and I had a daughter who was born with cancer. And so I decided, maybe this corporate
Mm-hmm.
grind isn't going to suit my
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle anymore. And so that's when I decided, well, I had the intention of going out on my own,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time, you were not able to get medical insurance
Right. Or
with
it cost you
pre-existing.
so much that,
Yes, it
yeah.
was
Mm-hmm.
just not attainable. So I hung out in corporate for a little longer than
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have. My
Mm-hmm.
heart wasn't there any
Mm-hmm.
longer. And then finally, when I was able to, my daughter was healthy, doing well, and I
Yay.
was, yeah, it was. She's 14 now, and she's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when I decided, okay, I'm really going to go out and do this on
Mm-hmm.
my own now. When all the stars
Mm-hmm.
lined up, and I was able to.
I love it. And I'm a survivor, so yay, definitely yay.
Yay. Yeah.
But I love your story because I think so many people think, I'm going to go down this path and they don't deviate from it for whatever reason. I mean, sometimes it does work out, and other times they do sometimes think I have to because I committed to that path. And I love that you said, we're going to do what we need to do while we need to do it, and then we're going to go on from there. And so that's great to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think also this goes, hand in hand with entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It's testing. There's a lot
Right.
of testing, trying
Mm-hmm.
different things,
Mm-hmm.
seeing what works, seeing what the market responds
Right.
to, seeing what, all the different components of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think that that's life as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be rigid. This is what I'm going
Right.
to do, because until you get in there and start doing it, you really don't know
Mm-hmm.
if that's the right path for
Right.
you.
And I love that your background has so much diversity in it because as you work with companies, it does give you that knowledge to be able to say, hey, we need to do this. But as I was looking through this, my first thought was, how many people think, well, I mentioned it at the very start. We don't talk about money. They say that's the worst thing that couples have to deal with is, those kind of conversations. And then the bad thing is we think about that with our business too. And it's just very strange because, even nonprofit organizations are actually for profit. If they didn't make money, they couldn't operate, right? And so we all have to have that. But I think we somehow think that there's this taboo, this, we can't talk about it. And so then what happens is I think that's where companies, whether they're a one person or 10,000, that's where then they get into trouble because they don't think, okay, I need help.
Mhm.
Is that what you find?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at 100%, having money equals having
Mhm.
opportunities.
Right.
And opportunities can come in all different
Mm-hmm.
shapes and forms. The opportunity to serve more clients, the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to provide a financial lifestyle and future
Mm-hmm.
for your family, the opportunity to do the same for your employees'
Mm-hmm.
families, right? So it's not, money is not bad, money
Mm-hmm.
is neutral.
Mm-hmm.
It just, depends on the type of
Right.
opportunities that you want
Mm-hmm.
to bring into your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the successful businesses understand this,
Mm-hmm.
and they understand how to budget their money so that
Mm-hmm.
it works
Mm-hmm.
hard in their business for them,
Right.
and they don't have to work as hard
Mm-hmm.
pushing that big boulder up the hill,
Mm-hmm.
versus I understand my margins, I
Mm-hmm.
understand how I'm allocating,
Mm-hmm.
every dollar in revenue that you generate equals 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And how you allocate that in your business is really going to
Right.
determine whether you're profitable or
Mm-hmm.
not, whether you are able to pay your team a
Mm-hmm.
competitive wage and
Mm-hmm.
attract top talent,
Mm-hmm.
and just all the different
Mm-hmm.
things, marketing to bring in your
Mm-hmm.
dream clients. So when you understand as a business owner what money does, the purpose it
Mm-hmm.
serves in your business,
Right.
you're a lot happier
Mm-hmm.
and less stressful.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's funny in my experience, you obviously have a CEO. There's always the person in charge. They might not go by that title. They might give themselves some fancy made up thing. They might call themselves founder, president, whatever. But there is that person in charge. And then a lot of times they'll get a marketing person. So they have a CMO. They might have a CIO, and all those things. But it seems like the last person they really they do in many cases have someone doing their books, meeting payroll, paying bills, all of those things. Might be them. They might be doing it themselves. But it seems like the very last person a business thinks about hiring tends to be the CFO, the chief financial officer. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a misunderstood role.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, when I talk to business owners and I explain what we do and
Mm-hmm.
how we do it and the
Mm-hmm.
effect it has on a business, I hear time and time again, oh, I didn't even know that existed.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
because, the services, for example, my company provides is a fractional.
Right.
So you're not paying 200, 300,000 a year to get this,
Mm-hmm.
this type of experience and financial guidance in your business. You're able to get it at a fraction of the cost, but still get that targeted information that's going to move you to the next revenue level, to the next, whatever it may be that your goals are in your business. And so I wish that everyone had a fractional CFO until they're ready to bring on a full-time CFO, because the things that I think the big misunderstanding comes from, yes, I have a bookkeeper and I have a tax preparer, but those are all historical viewpoints in your business.
Right. They're looking at what happened in the past.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They're reporting on what you've already done as that business owner. Your CFO is looking forward into the future, telling you, here's what's coming up, here's how to plan, and here's how to be profitable. So you need everybody because they all serve very important roles. But a lot of business owners think that they're going to get that strategic guidance and advice from their tax preparer, who oftentimes is a CPA. But CPAs are vastly different in the skills that they're trained for and the services that they're providing. So that's really where the CFO provides that expert guidance and comes alongside the business owner and says, I'm your partner in profitability. Here's how we're going to do it. And they dissect that entire business model to understand how every single cent is spent to be able to make the most profitable business model as possible.
Right. And it is very much a team, whether you've got, a fractional CFO or a full-time CFO. They're working with your marketing, with your sales, with, depending on what you do, if you have R&D, I mean, all of those things, because they do all have to know what's going on with each other. I've worked in businesses where we had the silos. This department never talked to that department, and when we bump into each other in the hall, you kind of felt guilty if you were even saying, "Hey, did you watch such and such on TV last night?" And of course, it really is a team that you need to be building.
Absolutely. There's so much that your CFO needs to have the pulse of in your business.
Right.
So what's coming down your sales pipeline? What's your sales conversion rate? Do we have the team planned to be able to deliver on those sales when you make them? Do we have enough product in inventory?
Right.
Do we have enough? All the things. So if they don't have their finger on the pulse of what's coming down the sales pipeline, they're doing you a disservice in your business, because you're missing the whole point of the strategy and the planning piece,
right?
As well as monitoring your customer acquisition rate.
Right.
So you need to understand and give your marketing team clear guidance as to, okay, I did, 10 million last year. This year, I want to do 15 million. That equates to X number of new sales at this average transaction price. And then looking at, well, I know how much it cost me to acquire those new sales. And so bringing that data to your marketing team and saying, okay, marketing team, I need 300 qualified leads and I've got 10,000 to pay for it, or whatever your numbers may be. That's going to provide your marketing team with the clarity that they need to see, okay, this is what success looks like for us working for you. And then you have clear metrics that you can track as the business owner to see, are we on track to hit our goals?
Right. I don't know why my camera just got all fuzzy, but look, I'm all fuzzy. Let's see if I can make, oh, there, I'm better. I loved it. You're talking about clear goals and I faded away. The other thing they have to, they really do have to have the pulse of everything that's going on in the business, HR, legal. I mean, if say HR needs to hire up or staff down, I mean, that's clearly a financial thing, especially if maybe you're going to do some planned layoffs that are going to entail severance packages. Or maybe there's some bugaboo coming in the legal department where you might need a chunk of change all of a sudden, all of these things. And of course, the owner, president, CEO, whatever the heck we're calling that person, they want to think that they have their hands and their arms around everything. But unless you are basically the business of one, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that case, they need management dashboards. Mm-hmm. They need to have where each of those key positions in the company have metrics or data that they're providing to the business owner, the CEO, the founder, whoever it is, so that they can, that's how they have their arms wrapped around everything, is by having this dashboard that's showing all of the different KPIs or key performance indicators for each of the different divisions, and then understanding, how do I interpret this data in my decision-making process? And so that's the key, that as your company grows, and I think a lot of business owners that go from 6 to 7 to 8 figures, there's that big gap and you're missing, you can keep your arms around it pretty well at the 6 figures.
Right.
But as your business grows, the complexity grows, the amount of team, the amount of transactions, the volume and everything, you cannot keep your arms wrapped around it like you did before.
No. And I think that's why so many business owners get so frustrated, is they do try and do it all. That's one of the things when I'm talking with people who are starting their business, say, is, they don't want to ask for help because they might be admitting they don't know everything. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and do open heart surgery on myself or change my own oil. Why wouldn't I want a tax accountant, a business lawyer? I mean, all of those various things. But of course, it's exactly what you're talking about with the fractional person. I don't need those 80 hours a week, 40 hours a week, whatever the hours a week are. And maybe I just need somebody to do it 2 hours a week, and then obviously things ramp up and ramp down. But that's where I love the concept of fractional, because I think so many people think they have to hire a full-time person to do whatever it is. So talk to us a little bit more about the concept of a fractional type of person.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. The need really was clear when we started doing the accounting services. That was what we entered the market with first. And we would provide these beautiful financial reports to our business owner clients, and off they'd go to a drawer or a or wherever they opened the PDF. And we said, we know that there is so much valuable data in those reports. And the disconnect is the business owners, to them, it's just numbers and letters on a sheet, right? It doesn't tell a story. And so that's where our fractional CFO services were really born out of, was saying, hold on, let me take that data for you and put it in a format that you will be able to interpret and use.
Because I don't understand spreadsheets and KPIs and...
Yeah, absolutely. It takes the financially trained brain to understand the reports that the accounting is spitting out. And if that's your, trade, then that's what you would be doing all the time. But there's a lot of business owners that is not what they're doing.
And again, they don't want to admit that they don't understand it.
Yeah. And they have so many beautiful gifts that they're bringing to their clients. And so we needed to find a way to, how do we do it that's affordable to them? And also we know is going to provide that value. And so that's where we decided, let's do it fractionally. We've got 2 different offerings. They can come in at let me dip my toe in this and see if this, how does this even work? And then from there, everybody upgrades to the full package because they're like, I want more. It's like once you show somebody what's buried in their business and how to be more profitable, who doesn't want more of that, right?
Right. And you mentioned that if I have this correct, that it's usually the point where they need to start thinking about this is when they're going from the 6-figure to the 7-figure. And so is that right? Where that's the point where they really need to start thinking about bringing in, because they probably still don't need a full-time CFO, but they definitely need a fractional part-time person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you are, there's a lot that if you're good, you have a good product, you have a good service, and you're good at sales, you can get pretty far in your business. But you might get to that point where you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, where the more money you bring in, the more it's going right back out the door.
I know. And where in the heck did it go?
If you've ever asked yourself that question, you need a CFO. If you've ever asked your current financial team to tell you that data and they can't, you need a CFO.
Right.
So those are some of the big things that are the ahas when you're going from those different revenue levels, because when you hit the 7-figure mark, you have to be much more strategic in your business to, number one, sustain it. And then number two, to keep growing it.
Right. Right. And it really is one of those things where that's a big number for a lot of companies. What about the smaller guys that are, maybe they're in the 5s, or they just are hitting 6 figures? What do they need to be thinking about?
So one of the very first hires that you should have is a good bookkeeper.
Okay.
Because that good bookkeeper is going to set up systems and processes to track your data.
Okay.
So that when you are ready to bring in a higher level financial expert into your business, there's historical.
Your books aren't on Excel?
Yes. You have some beautiful stuff for us to go through and mine the data to be able to answer the questions that you're trying to get answered in your business. So that's the first step. So, when you're starting off, even if you're hiring somebody for 5 hours a month, that's okay. Start somewhere and get somebody that you've interviewed and they're clear. They understand what they're doing. They're not just, I decided I'm going to go into this industry and I'm doing it at my kitchen table.
I can do math.
Because let me tell you, we clean up a lot of books because it's not a very regulated, like bookkeepers. Anyone could say they're a bookkeeper. So check references, make sure they've got an accounting degree. They know what they're doing. You're good there. Then as you sell and you have proof of concept with your product or service, then you're going to grow into the 6 figures. And then you're going to make it pretty far with just that small team until you're ready to bring in more of that strategic guidance.
Right. And it is really about, as you said, setting that initial groundwork. I joke about Excel. Now I might know my books are not on Excel, but so many people are, or worse, they're just writing them down. I was talking with a business owner several months ago and I just asked for something that they, wanted, and it was a question about something they had in inventory, and they got out their spiral notebook. And I'm like, you do put that into at least Excel? No, they did it all very old school. And of course, my thought with that was one misplaced cup of coffee and they're in serious trouble. Anything like that. And granted, things can happen to computers, but that's why things are on the cloud and, all those various things. But it is about really setting those initial goals. And I'm a marketing person by trade. So we talk about, having your marketing goals, and you can't get from point A to point D without knowing how you're going to get there. Because aside from anything else, if you get there, you're not going to know you were there, right? If you, and so you have to plan. And I think that's the thing that so many people forget, is that you absolutely must be planning from a financial aspect.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to look back. And as my business has grown, and we've doubled every year since we started,
Nice.
it's looking at how much of my time has increased as the business has increased. My time has increased correspondingly to how much time I sit and think about strategy and planning. And it's amazing because I feel like I spend a lot of time there, and it's not just planning on the financial because that's what comes naturally to me. It's planning with the marketing team. It's doing strategy with, each division in my company now and saying, what do you need this month, this quarter, this year? How are we planning for that? What do you see, happening in the market? Things like that. So we're always looking at how can we add more value and love on our clients more. And so planning, this is just perfect into what you were saying is like, you have to be spending the majority of your time as a leader in a business planning.
Right. And of course, most people don't go into business to do that. They're going into business because they like public speaking, or they like doing marketing, or, whatever it is. And they don't realize really that planning is a big part of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fine too. There's a lot of businesses out there that are lifestyle businesses and they're generating a nice, healthy paycheck for the business owner, and they're content doing what they want to do. And they definitely add a lot of, value to the market. If you're a business owner that wants to grow and scale a company, it's a different conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and as we've been saying, it's planning multiple things. I mean, if you're planning on growing your company, obviously marketing and sales are a very big part of that. But nothing happens if you don't have the money for it. We can have the greatest marketing plan in the world. We can have the most fabulous sales pipeline. But if we don't have money to accomplish what we're doing, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where the holistic view of the business has to come into that whole process.
Right.
And so sales and marketing, you're spending money to acquire leads, and then you're turning those leads into sales. And so, in that capacity, you really have to understand how much does it cost me to acquire a customer? So that you can, back into, well, how many do I need to hit my sales goals, to hit my revenue goals, to back into all of that big, the master plan. And I think that's the best place for a business owner to start when they're creating a financial roadmap to achieve a financial goal, is to understand all of the different levers, if you will, the different components that make up their whole business model. And that's really where a fractional CFO can give you that insight.
Yeah, because you do understand those various pieces. And so you can start pulling them all together. And it's funny, I talked about the silos, it's people tend to be very protective of some of that. I'm not going to tell you this because you might take that from me, or, all those things. Well, of course, if we don't communicate well, then the business is not going to be successful, and I always, it was always really funny. Like I said, I'm a marketing person. When marketing and sales did not talk to each other, I'm like, this makes no sense to me. But, or in times of challenging times, you do away with one or the other. Well, no, you still need both of those. But, and of course, all of this is, you need all of this all the time. You just need to be able to scale it up and scale it down.
Yeah, you have to have that foresight into when to do what. At what point in your business do I double down on my ad spend because I have an ad that's converting like hotcakes?
Right.
Or how do I know that, hey, this campaign, this marketing campaign is not actually giving me any return on my investment, and I need to pull the plug on it? So that's where your marketing people are the creative brains to come up with the strategy and the execution of the campaigns, but it's the financial team that helps you to marry the two together and tell you, this is your
Mhm.
ROI. This is, these are the hard numbers that are being produced from what the efforts of the marketing
Mhm.
division is doing. And then this is what the sales team, it might turn out that it's a vanity metric that the marketing team is creating, because when the sales team gets their hands on those leads, they're not able to convert them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you
Marketing
have
might say,
to.
I brought you 100 leads.
Exactly.
And the salespeople go, yeah, but we only converted 2. Now, if those 2 are major money, then that's different. But yeah, it's all about knowing all of those numbers.
Absolutely. And understanding how you're allocating the money that I'm receiving today. How am I, number one, fulfilling on that sale? But then how am I strategically using what's left over
Right.
to get my next customer, to get my next new hire, to get my next whatever it may be, bill you have to pay? That's really where it comes into this whole process of understanding, how am I pricing my products so that I have enough money left over to do all the other functions of the business and be profitable, and looking at, labor costs right now. If you looked back over the last 18 months of labor costs, oh my goodness, right? You're going to see this crazy inflated number because of the way that just the market and all of life's events have happened to the economy. So if you're not monitoring that and raising your prices in step with what it's costing you to hire the delivery portion of the team, you're really going to be left holding the bag, because you're not going to have any money left over to continue to generate new revenue and do all the things that the business cycle has to be able to do and function with.
Right. And I think we saw the biggest examples of companies just not knowing what's going on themselves when COVID hit. Now granted, it went on a heck of a lot longer than anybody ever thought it would. But, so many businesses, I think, went out of business because they had no idea what was going on in their own business. Did they have enough money to pivot and do something different? Did they have enough money to keep paying their employees, even if they weren't doing anything? All of these various things. And we saw a lot of companies obviously struggle for a while, and then unfortunately a lot go out of business. But I think those that were able to survive knew where they stood. They knew, okay, we can go to X bank and get this money. We can do this, we can do that. We do have these reserves. We can lay off half of our workforce. We can put in a drive-through window, whatever it was. But they knew what was going on, as opposed to maybe can we do we're just gonna wing it and see if we can get money from somewhere else that just comes to us.
Yeah. I think a couple of big things on that. If the business was I'll just sell more because sales fixes everything.
Right.
They got a hard wake up call because you couldn't sell more,
unless you sold masks and disinfectant, you were in trouble.
Yeah. So that's one. And then number 2 is those businesses that were propped up by the different government programs are now going out of business.
Right. Yeah, because they didn't plan for that money to decrease.
Yeah. So I think it's just a foundation of business is to always understand your numbers, even if you don't like numbers, even if it's you got the worst grades in school when it came to anything to do with numbers. You can hire beautifully smart, heart-centered people that will hold your hand through it all and explain it to you in a way that makes sense.
Right.
And that's actually a really good point too. If you're working with somebody who does not explain it to you in a way that makes sense, find somebody else, because there are plenty of people out there that can do that. And you don't have to be a numbers lover. We get a lot of testimonials and feedback from our clients that say, I hated numbers, but once I started working with your team, I crave more data. I crave more numbers because I've learned to love them, because you've explained them in a way that no one has ever done before, for me to even understand, why does this matter to me? What value am I getting as a business owner from this information?
Right. Right. Well, Andrea, when I read your bio, one of the things I mentioned was the 5-step holistic approach. Give us a little bit more detail about that.
Sure. So we've touched a little bit on it in
Mm-hmm.
just our conversation
Mm-hmm.
organically, but essentially the first step is to understand the data that you have.
Okay.
So we mentioned your first hire
Mm-hmm.
should be a bookkeeper, no matter
Mm-hmm.
where you're at in your business. That should
Mm-hmm.
be the first, even if it's 5 hours a month,
Mm-hmm.
because the data integrity is what really matters when we
Right.
first come in to work with a
Mm-hmm.
client, because we're going to use that historical
Mm-hmm.
information to forecast forward
Mm-hmm.
into the future. So that's number one. So
Mm-hmm.
once you understand you have your books match your tax return, everything ties
Mm-hmm.
out, you're comfortable saying, okay, yes, I can use this to predict
Mm-hmm.
future results in the
Mm-hmm.
business. And then it's creating that financial roadmap. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
want to be financially with the business? Under the assumption that your business is an asset
Mm-hmm.
to create wealth for the
Right.
business owner.
It's not a hobby.
Mhm. And it's okay if it is, but that's a very different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your 1-year financial goal,
Mm-hmm.
3-year financial goal,
Mm-hmm.
5-year financial goal? Because we want to be making decisions
Mm-hmm.
working backwards,
Right.
right? We're always looking at,
Mm-hmm.
if you tell me you want to potentially sell your business or
Mm-hmm.
exit in 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you very different
Right.
advice. Somebody who wants to pass it
Mm-hmm.
down to their children in 10
Mm-hmm.
years. So understanding what it is that you're building this asset
Mm-hmm.
for is
Mm-hmm.
really important. So that's your step one.
Mm-hmm.
Step two is looking at your pricing,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to really understand how much does it cost me to deliver what I'm selling, whether it's a product or a service.
Mm-hmm.
If you are very clear on your cost of goods or
Mm-hmm.
cost of revenue, then you know how to price your products
Mm-hmm.
appropriately, so that you have, that is costing you no more than 40 to 50% of the sales
Mm-hmm.
price. Then you have money left over to market. You have
Mm-hmm.
money left over to pay for your general
Mm-hmm.
and administrative overhead expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And you have profit built into
Mm-hmm.
your sales price. So it's not a surprise at the end of the month if you're
Mm-hmm.
profitable or not.
Mm-hmm.
You've put it into the recipe to bake this
Right.
cake, and you know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our second module. Our third is the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So how is your marketing tied into step one and step two?
Okay.
Understanding your customer acquisition cost, understanding your customer lifetime
Mm-hmm.
value, understanding how every dollar that you put into that marketing budget, that line item,
Mm-hmm.
what is it doing? What is
Mm-hmm.
it, the ROI that you're
Mm-hmm.
getting? And is it enough to hit your sales goals?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we go into looking at your different marketing channels.
Mm-hmm.
We're tracking the results of each of those
Okay.
based on how much you've spent on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sales conversion rate based on each channel.
Mm-hmm.
We're also looking at that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's going to tell us, am I going to hit my revenue
Mm-hmm.
goals? Or do I need to,
Mm-hmm.
put more money in marketing and spend less in G&A? Or,
Right.
it's that game of, you've only got 100% of every dollar to allocate
Mm-hmm.
into one of those 4 big buckets. Each business is going to do it a little bit differently,
Right.
based on what their market is,
Mm-hmm.
based on what their industry is, based on what their goals are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what the CFO helps them figure
Mm-hmm.
out. From there, we're building out a sales forecast. We're building out a budget. We're
Mm-hmm.
building out a KPI dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
We're building out all of the things that you need, so that you're not looking at financial statements and
Mm-hmm.
trying to translate them. We're doing all that translation
Right.
for you, and just giving you beautiful graphs that are telling you,
Mm-hmm.
do this, don't do that
Mm-hmm.
kind of advice.
Mm-hmm.
So then we move into KPIs, which is the monitor and adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So every month now we're looking at, here's what we thought was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what actually happened. Here's the variance.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with this data?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so
And why did it happen? All of those various
Exactly.
things. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's going to tell you do more of this because it's
Mm-hmm.
working really well.
Right. And stop doing
stop
that.
doing this because it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple, information there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our 4th module. And our 5th module is really where we increase your impact in the world, right? So you're able to serve more clients because you're profitable.
Right.
You're able to, whatever it is that you, the business owner, have set out as, this is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to accomplish with your business. You now understand every step prior to that, and you're able to really affect the outcome of what
Right.
your business is doing.
Right. And I love that at the very start, it's figure out what you want. Because for some people, it's going to be, I want the Jaguar and this and this and this. I want more free time. I want, I was talking with somebody and I'm doing public speaking and they said, well, how many times a month do you want to speak? Now I know and I told them, I said, I do not want to travel more than once a month. And they went, well, that's not going to bring you much. And I said, that's all right. I'm not going to travel more than once a month. And my team understands, okay, this is what we're doing. Now, something comes up that's fantastic. Sure, you consider it. But for so many people, it is, like you said, do they want a legacy business that they're going to sell or pass on to their children? Is it, hey, I just want to do this till I retire. And that's in X number of years. All of those things really do play into it because there's obviously you can be too big, too small. I mean, and you want to hit that little sweet spot where you're serving all of those needs.
Absolutely. And it gives the business owner a lot more clarity as well when they say, oh, I want to double or triple. And then you go, okay, here's what it's going to take for that to be accomplished. And then they go, whoa, I don't want to work that hard. That's fine. Let's scale it back. Let's find something that meets the mark on, the financial side and also the commitment side, because, it takes a lot to grow a business and it's a big commitment. And so, each business owner has their own different level of what their ideal business looks like.
I'm also thinking of this is that the CFO, is somebody who kind of keeps you grounded. In marketing, we talk about having BHAGs, those big, hairy, audacious goals. And, maybe that's to sell, X number of things or make X number of amount and all of those. But those do have to be reasonable goals. I can't say my goal is that I'm making $5 million in a year. Now, I could say that, obviously, but is it a reasonable goal? And that's where the CFO is going to say, okay, you want to do that. That's great. But as we said, here's what it will take. First of all, you're going to have to clone yourself,
Multiple times.
and all of those things. And because especially as the business owner, we get caught up in the dream, and we're told dream big and all of those things. But then, when reality comes crashing in, unfortunately, then what happens is it completely crashes in and we don't recover from it.
Yeah. And that's really like each of us are the creator of our reality, right? We're the creator of whatever it is that we're doing. And so this is just more information to know, are you on the right track to be creating what you've said you want to create, or are you, you took a left turn when you should have gone right kind of thing. And it'll just help you have that visibility into, it's a labor of love to grow a business.
Right.
That's one thing I think every business owner can agree on. So you should at least know which direction you're heading on the freeway to get to that end result.
And hopefully you're not going the total wrong way.
Yes.
So one of the things we also mentioned in your bio was predictable profits. What the heck is that?
Yeah. So predictable profits is really understanding all of the components that go into your business model so that you can say, for every dollar in revenue I generate, I know 20 cents is going to be my profit. And I know that because I've planned, I know exactly how much it costs me to deliver my product or service. I know exactly how much it costs me to acquire a customer and convert them into a sale. And I know how much it costs me to pay for all of my overhead and my general and administrative expenses, so that there's no surprises to what's going into my profit bucket at the end of each sale. I know that this is what I'm going to be putting aside for profit.
Right. And that is tricky, but again, that comes back to knowing about your business.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when we're starting out, that's not going to happen.
Right.
We're still kind of winging it a lot, but we also should be planning for that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that we see so many businesses where they've been in business 5, 10 or longer, and they still cannot put their hands around what their expenses are every month. One of my favorites are, we do a lot of helping people with their social media, and they'll say, I like doing marketing on social media because it's free. Well, okay. Assuming they're not buying ads, sure. But your time is one of the most precious things that people have. And I think that's where we see people fall, is they don't take that into account. It's like, okay, well, sure, you might want to do all of your marketing on social media, which no, don't do that. That's not good. But but that might mean that you're having to spend 6 hours a day doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that? Can you do it if it's an hour, 15 minutes? I mean, all of those various things. So, we need to keep those in mind. And it really is just a matter of having as we said, having your arms around all of those various expenses. So it is going to take everybody saying, I mean, we all know the saying, that for a new hire costs $30,000, or, it's probably more than that now. And so, if you're talking to your salespeople and your salespeople are saying, we're going to need 10 more employees, well, that's $300,000. See, I can actually do that math. Do you have that? And all of those various things. And then not only that, do you have space for 10 more people? Okay, they're going to home office. That's great. Do you have equipment for them? All of those various things, which is why I think so many business people go, I'm just going to go back and work for somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think they get to a point, because you can grow organically,
right,
being good at what you do. But you do get to a point where it's like, if you want to move to that next level, that's really where the strategy and the planning and the higher level team is going to be the only thing that can get you there. Not a there's no right or wrong way. For everybody, there's a different journey, and they're all great.
Right.
And there's a lot of really, people that have done the entrepreneur path and then decided, maybe this isn't for me. I like the stability more.
I like the benefits, as you were mentioning, things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, one of the other benefits of having someone from the outside come in as a fractional CFO is, many times people don't want to tell the owner, the CEO, the truth. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but they sugarcoat things. It's okay, Mr. Boss, we've got it under control. But the CFO is going to look at it and go, what do you mean you have it under control? Tell me more about that, and they're going to say, oh, well, yeah, it's under control, but we need 10 more people, and things like that. And that's just a kind of the nature of the beast, is we don't want to bother that, the person in charge. We think we can handle it, all of those various things, when that outside person is really going to find out, there could be a hiccup here.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of data and numbers, because numbers
don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. And it's a very, it's either this or it's that. And that's also the beauty of setting up your business so that it's numbers driven for each role in your company as well. So if you've got 3 KPIs, key performance indicators, for each role in your business, then it's very easy to go back and say, hi, so-and-so, it looks like the numbers are telling us that we're not hitting what we had set out to do. Yeah. And then it's not, you take the, I think you're not doing a good job, or I feel like you're not doing a good job.
It's not subjective any longer.
Yes. Yes. So numbers can, provide a lot of different benefits in a business. And so that's why we help the business owners set up systems and processes to track the right numbers, because you also know that the old saying, bad data in is bad data out. So you've got to make sure that you've got the right systems in place to get the good data so that you can get that valuable information out.
Right. Yeah. And it's like we said, that starts when you're just starting your business. You know, is this an overhead cost? Is this a marketing cost? Is this, you know, all of those various things, which of course your tax accountant is really going to love when you do those things. But yeah, having it right to start with just means it's much easier to grow it.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And now you're just replicating success once you've figured out and gotten your business model to the profitable point. You're not having to do a lot of testing and things. And that's really where you plug the money leaks in your business, is because you're not just throwing money at problems.
Right.
You've done it, or, you know, from the beginning organically. And so you know that your model is profitable at 1 unit or 100 units.
Right.
And then from there, it just becomes how do I get more leads to sell what I know is profitable.
Right. And again, they might say, okay, I've reached the point I want to be at. I'm content here. That's okay. You know, and I think that's probably one of the problems that I see, you know, and I've talked with people in the past, you know, we all have the fear of failure, but then there's also that fear of success. You know, the what if we get too big? Well, that's where you have to have established those things. I mean, you know, if you don't want to have a staff of 100 people, then you need to manage things so that you don't have a staff of 100 people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all just working backwards from what that end goal is, and being very clear. And it can change, right? From time to time too. It doesn't have to be once I set it over the next 5 years. I'm stuck with this.
This is not in stone, folks.
No. And a lot of times that we do see that clients say, okay, I want this goal, and they hit that goal, and then they go, no, I think I either want, you know, this way or that way, but they've got the clarity. They understand, you know, what each of those different choices, you know, entail. Yeah.
Well, you know, this is just fascinating. And I'm one of those people, I don't like numbers, you know, but, you know, I have a pretty good handle on them. You know, but we all know of businesses that don't, you know, unfortunately, like we said, we saw that a lot during COVID. But to me, that was an excuse. That was an excuse when people didn't know what they had, and things can happen all the time. You know, I mentioned when you were talking about your daughter, I mean, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. That really put a crimp on things, you know, and, you know, so there's always things that can happen. And so if you have not planned for whatever it is, then you may or may not be able to successfully get through it. You know, and I think that is obviously, and unfortunately, where we see businesses fail is they don't stop and think something bad or good could happen. I mean, it can also be the other thing. You know, what if you get a monumental contract? You know, one of my favorite TV shows is The Big Bang Theory. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. In one of the episodes, Penny sells penny blossoms. So they're the barrettes that she makes. And, you know, she was figuring she'd make like 100. And the boys made her this fabulous website, and they got an order to be shipped in 24 hours of 1,000 of these. And then while they're putting them together, because somebody forgot to take that off the website, they got another order for 1,000. You know, and so you can have good problems that you're having to solve also.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. And that's where you've got to have the financial resources to go buy that inventory for the 1,000 or the 2,000. So it's always a good rule of thumb, using that exact example, have financing in place before you need it. You know, and a lot of people, you know, our clients that were successful through COVID, which they all were, because they had all these foundational pieces in place already. But when your business has its best year ever, or your business is, the books just look as amazing as possible, even if you don't ever foresee the need to have a line of credit or credit cards through the business or whatever it may be, that is the time to go and shop them, because you're going to get the best rates. You're going to get all the good stuff. They're going to be clamoring for you to be their customer. And then you have it in, that example, or you have it in the example of, something happens to your building goes away, or you just never know what could happen. And so.
Right. Well, and obviously, folks, you check those things out, make sure they're legitimate. I get, I think, 2 or 3 emails a day of companies that are going to offer the Business Power Hour a fabulous loan or line of credit. And I'm like, okay, no. I mean, it's a podcast. It doesn't need that anyway. But it looks good. I mean, it's kind of the new spam thing that a lot of things are doing. So please don't fall for those. If you're thinking, okay, I need a line of credit, then don't answer somebody in an email. Go to your bank, your financial institution. I had a guest on not long ago from a credit union, and she was talking about, and so, there are so many very legitimate sources that, do that and make sure that what you're doing really is, appropriate and legal and going to benefit your company and not their pocket.
Yes. Go somewhere where you already have an established financial relationship when you're ready for those things. Right. Absolutely.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Andrea, this is why I set a timer, because I know that, we could just go on forever. And folks, we could go on talking about financial stuff. So for those of you who are going, no, this is actually a fascinating subject. It really is very cool. So, I always like to have you explain a little bit more about what it is that your company provides, and then how people can find you and connect with you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our website is called thecashflowcfo.com, and you can learn about our services. You can meet our team on there and see, just a little bit of how we've helped business owners just like you accomplish these financial goals that they have for their business. And there's all kinds of resources on there, which is what I love. There's spreadsheets, worksheets. Right.
So if you think you're too small, it's okay. Still go look.
Absolutely. Get on our newsletter so you're getting our tips, and we're always providing, that's one of our core, pillars in our business is always add value. Even if we're not the right fit to work with you, there's some value I can give you for your business where you're at.
I love that. And again, what was the website?
thecashflowcfo.com.
Perfect. And if somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they do that?
So there's a contact us. They can schedule a call on the website. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can reach out to all of us through those various platforms. And we'd love to connect with you and find out how we can help support your business.
Perfect. I love it. And this really has been a fun discussion, and I hope it has been for those who are listening and watching. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, I think it's kind of been the theme weaved through our conversation today. It's understand what you're building before you set out to build it, so that you're efficient with your time, your energy, your resources. And if you're looking to, exit your business in the next 3 to 5 years, which I know there's a lot of business owners that are, you want to be looking at adding value. How can I add value to my business so that when I go to sell it, the valuation, the multiplier is higher? So that's really something that, be aware of what your 3 to 5 year goal is, and then find somebody that can help you now, because it takes that long to really get everything in place so that all your hard work building this business, you get the highest, payout for it.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I've been having such a fun discussion with Andrea Jenson of the Cash Flow CFO. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.